Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome to our webinar here this afternoon. I'll just wait a couple of minutes for, there's a lot of people logging in there now, just give you time to log on. The webinar this afternoon is being presented by Marion Bergen. Marion is from a company called The Nice Things. And the webinar today is getting started with Instagram. So it's going through the basics and the foundation of Instagram. And Marion will be doing another webinar with us in August, late in August. I think it's the 26th, but we can confirm that afterwards. And that will be more to do with branded content and photo content, etc. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask in this webinar this afternoon, if you could type them into the Q&A or the chat bar, and Marion will deal with the questions as we go along. So I'll call out the questions as we go along rather than waiting till the very end. It might be easier that way. So, okay, thank you all. And I'll hand you over now to Marion. Thanks, Marion.
Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here again with you all today. And thanks, everybody who tuned into the last one. Yeah, I think we had quite a bit of feedback back actually after the last webinar, just with regards to, you know, the basics of Instagram, the fundamentals of Instagram, because a lot of makers are quite comfortable in Instagram already, but a lot of you are just getting started. So today's tutorial is going to be a little bit more tech intensive. So we're going to be looking at, like, you know, how to get your profile set up, what way you should be writing your bio, how to follow hashtags, sort of, you know, really getting into the nitty gritty of what Instagram's about without worrying too much about the whole creative directions and branding side of things, which I sort of went into quite heavily the last time. I'm going to be, the way that I'll be delivering this tutorial is I'm actually syncing up my own iPhone. So I've created, in building the Turned Earth imaginary pottery brand that I made the last time, I'm now going to walk you through how I would set up an Instagram account for that brand. So yeah, it will all be through screen share on my phone. Just a couple of things. If I'm going too quickly on the phone, because, you know, we're naturally all like quite, but if I'm moving too quickly on my phone and you can't really follow what I'm doing or what I'm talking about, please just let Mary know and I can slow down a bit. And the other thing as well, just as per what Mary said, this is it's a more of an intensive workshop. So please feel free to ask questions as I'm going through the points. You don't need to wait until the end, because I would like you to walk away today with a thorough understanding of Instagram. If you haven't got an Instagram account yet, I want you to be in a more confident position to be set up by the end of this tutorial. The other thing, I'm not going to be sending on a copy of the presentation at the end of this, purely because it's really all about the shared, what I'm doing on my phone. So it's really all about the video. DCCI will be posting it to their YouTube channel, I presume, and you'll be able to catch up. So if there's things that you need to go over, you'll be able to stop it and start it and sort of go back over again. So it really should help to get you into a better place for Instagram. For people who are a bit more accomplished and a bit more comfortable on the platform, it's still going to be of use. There's going to be little tips and tricks and things that you just might not have had time to dig deep into so much. So yeah, let's get going. So first of all, I just wanted to reintroduce myself for those of you who might not have joined us on the last webinar, or who might not have had an opportunity to watch the YouTube tutorial. So my name is Marion Bergen, and I work primarily as a creative director. I have an agency called The Nice Things, working in consulting on everything from brand to social media training to branded content basically everything that goes into building a successful digital brand. In terms of social media, my experience is self-taught. So I ran a fashion label in London, and over the course of 6 years, I scaled it to 50 stockists internationally, and primarily that was through leveraging the power of social media and learning how to work the social media system. So the Instagram, I grew to 35,000 users over 2 years, Facebook 25,000 users, and I didn't really focus so much on Twitter because it wasn't where my demographic was hanging out. But in terms of Instagram, I learned all the tips and I learned all the tricks, and I just was really comfortable on the platform and really used it exactly how you should to reach new customers and to build brand awareness. So, Instagram. Lots of reasons why you should be on it and lots of reasons why you should be building your business on it. There are 1 billion active monthly users, so just potential to reach an insane amount of people if you are clever in terms of how you market yourself. 80% of accounts follow a business. So right now, it's just a really great place to be for a business. You can still get organic traction. You can still use organic marketing, which means you don't necessarily need to pay for advertising to broaden your reach on Instagram. So now is the time to be really drilling down into it. Another thing that's sort of only come to light recently, but that I've actually noticed in terms of my own use of Instagram, is that there's more opportunity for your post to be seen, purely because your average person isn't posting as much as they usually would. Now, if you think about it in the current climate, and if you think your immediate family, like what people have been doing over the summer, by now people would have gone to festivals, there would be garden parties, they would have been posting lots of images of their holidays. That hasn't been happening this year. So it means that there's more of an opportunity for brands to be seen. And the other thing is that because we're sort of living our lives so digitally at the moment, people's Instagram usage is up because they're looking to it for entertainment. They're looking, every time you see something you like, it gives you a little dopamine rush. Every time you get a like, it gives you a little dopamine rush. And that's kind of why social media is so addictive. But for brands, it just means that there's a real opportunity to start pushing out content now and start establishing yourself when there's a little bit more room in the feed and when people aren't really posting quite as much. 200 million users visit a business profile daily. So it's kind of like when walking down the high street and just walking into shops and browsing shops. People now browse brands digitally, and people like to be discovering new brands digitally. They like to know, they like to be a trend leader. They like to find the amazing little things off the beaten path that nobody else has. So if you just think about it, if you put out the right kind of content and the right kind of messaging, that's your opportunity to get your product in front of somebody who's already looking for that painting or that jam or that knitwear or whatever it is you're trying to sell them, once you figure out how to do that. And I'm going to share some tips on that in today's tutorial. Now, for anybody who's starting out or just growing your Instagram, like, it can seem very overwhelming. So you look at brands that have 25,000 followers or even 10,000 followers, and you're sort of starting out from the bottom and wondering how are you ever going to get to that number? And to that, I would just say, it's not necessarily about the numbers. It's not necessarily about the amount of followers. So the amount of followers doesn't mean that you are successful on Instagram. There is a sort of common theory that you know, that's a valid theory, that you should be aiming to get 1,000 true followers. So the reason being, if you have 1,000 true followers, so people who are really invested in your brand and people who are really actually going to make a purchase from your brand and not just like your pretty pictures. Say, for example, every single one of those people spends €60 in a year, that's an extra 60,000 per year. So that kind of just shows you that if you're engaging in the right way and if you're getting people to sort of click through and to purchase from your e-commerce, it has potential to be really lucrative. But I mean, you know, that's looking at 1,000. If you're starting with 100, the same formula, if you have 100 followers and they're really invested in the brand and they're going to actually purchase from you and your average spend is €60 per customer, that's an extra 6 grand. So you could potentially, there's no reason why you can't get 100 true followers or make it your aim to get 100 true followers over the next 6 months. And if you do that, then you can build, then, you know, maybe the next goal that you give yourself is 500 and then you aim for the 1,000. So it's about the quality of the followers and it's about making sure that they're the right person who's actually going to purchase from your brand. Just going to go over then what I'm going to be talking about in the webinar today. So as I said, what we're going to do is we're going to switch from this presentation mode and I'm going to sync my iPhone so that I can actually walk you through the steps to set up the brand, to set up a brand, so that when you look at this video afterwards, if you need to review anything, you literally have all the steps reflected exactly as they happen in your phone. So we'll start by setting up your account. So that will cover things like getting your brand on there, just looking at all the different menus, getting your settings right, setting yourself up to do business on Instagram. Then we'll look at the bio, so how you should be writing your bio, little tips as well for things like line breaks, so how you make your bio look nice and look professional, which is very important. Looking at your first post, so when you do post, what should you post? How should you use your hashtags? When should you post your hashtags? And then we'll have a look at stories. So I'm not going to go too heavily into stories today. There is so much cool stuff you can do with stories, but like I said, this is more of a basic sort of foundation for Instagram. So if you've never done stories before or you sort of don't really know what you're doing, then you'll come away today with a bit more of an understanding and just sort of some food for thought and some inspiration. And then finally, we'll round off with how to support your Instagram through your other marketing channels. So it's not just about setting your Instagram up and then you sort of leave it. All of your channels have to, and all of your marketing efforts really have to cross-pollinate each other. And that's how you use sort of leverage the clout of your other marketing efforts, such as your direct email and your packaging, that kind of thing. And it all sort of goes back into growing your Instagram and all feeds back. So I am now going to share with you my iPhone. There we go. Okay, so here we have my iPhone. We're going to open up Instagram. So first I'm just going to talk a little bit about just orientate you on the platform. So up here on the left hand side, this is where we can take a picture for our stories. So if we click on that, you get a picture of what's in front of you and we can put that onto our stories. On the left hand side, this is our email inbox. So much like you have a normal email, this is your direct messaging inbox, very similar to your Facebook one, how you would use your Facebook one. This is your story. So once you start following people, you'll see lots of little circles along here. So you'll see the other people who have posted stories, and then you'll see your story here. So your story being a collection of posts and videos that you have posted that lasts for 24 hours. So these disappear. That's the difference. Your story, they last for 24 hours. It's a little collective story, all sort of sewn together. And then on your feed, which we'll talk about in a minute, your images stay on your feed. Down here, so if we go to the bottom of the screen, we have the home. So that will literally bring us to our, that will literally just bring us to the home of the home page, the landing page, as it were, of our Instagram. This is our browse. So with browse, you can look, it's sort of, the Instagram algorithm will start showing you things that are of interest to you. So say, for example, in the case of this brand that we're creating today, if you follow #pottery, #made in Ireland, then on this browse feed, Instagram will start presenting you with things that, you know, will be of similar interest. You also have at the top here, you have Instagram TV. So some people are posting longer video content. So with stories, you can only post a minute, and it's the same with your feed. However, you can post much longer video content on Instagram TV. It's not something that's really necessary for emerging brands unless you're going to have like much more of an invested story. Shop is not something that we're going to go into today because it's a little bit more advanced, but you do also have the opportunity to tag your products and shop the products.
Marion, there's just a couple of questions in there. The first one is, Facebook has disconnected my Instagram link in website. How can I turn it on?
Ooh, I don't have the answer to that right now. Yeah, I need to sort of understand the nitty gritty of that one. That's quite a techy question.
Look into that. Okay, and the other one is, would archiving posts allow me to tidy up and design my page?
Totally. Big fan of archiving posts. So I regularly archive my own feed. There are things, you know, there are things that you'll post as well. Like, say, for example, if you're really, really pushing a sale, right? So you have a week, like you do an Easter sale, and every day that week you put up a post saying sale ends in 48 hours, sale ends in 28, or whatever it is. You don't want all of those like really sort of salesy kind of posts to clutter your feed, because you ultimately want your feed to look really beautiful, like a gorgeous representation of your brand and what your world is. So by all means, archive, keep on top of it, keep your feed really tidy. And, you know, there's stuff that will be, it'll just feel less relevant, or you'll look back over sort of the journey that your brand has gone, and there's stuff that won't be aligned. And you can just, you know, or maybe it's a creative direction that just doesn't really sit with what you're doing anymore. You can absolutely archive. Big fan of the tidy ups. Is that all the questions for the moment?
Yeah, that's it for the moment. Yeah.
Okay, great. So then across the bottom, we've spoken a little bit about browse. I'm trying to click on my computer screen.
Marion, just one came in there. How do you archive?
I am going to take note of that, and I will come back to that.
And then somebody else is asking, what does archive posts mean?
Okay, so what I will do is I will touch on that at the end of today, because you can't, I'm not going to be able to show you how to archive until I have some posts. So I'm going to set the brand up, and then what I'll do is I'll show you how to archive the posts.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, at the bottom here we have the central one. So this is where you would click on a post to add, and we'll come back to that in a moment. And then you have the hearts. So when somebody is engaging with your brand, this is where you'll be able to see your likes and your comments. And then on the bottom right hand side here, is your profile. So as you can see, the profile, Turned Earth, although I have set up the name, etc., it's really quite empty at the moment. And Instagram is great because it prompts you to complete. So 0 of 4 steps completed. Like, this is a brand new profile that we're all gonna create together today. So welcome, Turned Earth. We're gonna complete our profile. So complete your profile. First of all, your profile photo. Now, there's a few different options with your profile photo. You might think that it suits your brand more to have a picture of the product, or perhaps you want a picture of yourself. There's no 100% right or wrong way. For the sake of today, I have created a nice, cozy little brand, Turned Earth, that sits nicely within the circle. So you always want to make sure that you have an image that sits within your profile circle so that you don't end up with some kind of weird crop or the letters cropped out. When you upload it, like, you can, there is the option to move it around. And so many times, like, I see logos that haven't been correctly formatted for Instagram and you end up with a cropped logo. You need to make sure that your logo is correctly formatted for Instagram so it sits within the circle, because this is going to be the first thing that people look at when they come to your profile. So let's go ahead with this one. So there we have it, Turned Earth. The name you can change, so you can put whatever you want in there. You can be like Turned Earth Ceramics, or whatever you want it to be, but always have the name the same as the name of the brand. So always have it starting with the same words. So you wouldn't have Earth Turned, for example. The username you can also change. So if you set up with one username, you do have the option to change it. If you're completely setting up a brand new profile, it's really hard to claim the exact words that you want at this point, because, you know, we said there was like 1 billion users on Instagram. So you may need to go with an underscore at the end, or perhaps you want to say Turned Earth Studio or Pottery, or there may need to be something else. The one thing that I would always say is just make sure, if your brand is called Turned Earth, then for your username, try to have Turned Earth and something. Purely because if your users are searching for you, like if somebody wants to find you on Instagram and they know what the name of your brand is, they'll search by Turned Earth, not anything else. So it's the easiest way for them to find you. The website, and we can pop in here, .com. And then your bio. So the bio is an interesting one, actually, because bios are now searchable. So previously, like where you could just search a hashtag in a feed, you can now search a hashtag in a bio. So if people, for example, are searching for Irish pottery brands, they can type that in, and if the right words are in your bio, then you will be able to get found from your bio, not even just your posts. So just be mindful that you're using your bio to really describe what you do and put in some relevant hashtags for the area of your business as well. Now, instead of typing the bio just in here, what I always recommend is that you type up your bio in your notes on your iPhone. I'm sure that there is a similar app for Android. The reason being, I'll show you now. Okay, the reason being, see the way that this has spaces after the sentences. So you have a space here, a space here, a space here. You cannot insert spaces in Instagram, so it'll just push it all together and it will make it harder to read. And you want to have your hashtags as well. Like, it's the difference between, it's the difference between having your hashtag, I'll show you now. iPhones never behave when you want them to. Okay. Right, well, let's just say, for example, so it's the difference between having your hashtag here, so it's all crammed in with your actual bio, and having that, just that nice space, which really helps. It just looks more professional, and it helps your followers follow what you're doing. So what we'll do, once we've prepared this with the spaces the way we want them, we'll press copy, and go back into our Instagram. And we were in bio, so edit profile. Let's just bump this out now because we left turnedearth.com. And we'll paste our bio in here. Done. So see the way there that you have the spaces. Oh, all right, we've lost our profile picture, so just bear with me. Now, so that's everything filled out. And then you come to the business information. So we are setting up a business page here. It's not a personal page. So when you go on to do more advanced things like selling on Instagram, so tagging your products and selling them via Instagram, linking to the URL, this is where you will need to have your Facebook page linked. So connect existing page. So I'm going to connect it to the nice things. So once you log into Instagram with your details, it will recognize you, and it will present you with your Instagram pages to be connected. You need to put a category as well for your profile. So it could be retail, perhaps it's art. There's various different options, but again, what this category does is it helps Instagram understand what kind of consumers you're looking for. So it brings you, the more specific you are about all of these things, the closer it brings you to that user who's going to be one of your 100 that spends that 60 euros. So done.
Sorry, Marion, just a quick question. Are you limited to the amount of text in the bio?
I don't know off the top of my head, actually. Like, I think if you use notes, you can use quite a lot of text. I mean, I wouldn't recommend having too much text in your bio. You want to keep it really focused and to the point. But yeah, I don't know the exact word count limit.
Okay, thanks. Oh, actually, somebody has just said 150 characters, I believe.
Excellent. Glad you guys are Googling this stuff as well. So yeah, so make those 150 characters count. So coming down here to our contact options, this allows you to enter in all of your business information so that when we go back to the profile, you can see people can actually email you directly from your Instagram page. Profile display. Yes, we're not hiding anything here. You can choose to have your contact info on or off. It will never be your personal contact info. Obviously, it will always be your business info. And then we click done. And here we have our posts. So we have our logo. At the moment, we have 0 posts because we haven't posted anything. We have 0 followers and we have 0 following. We have Turned Earth Ceramics, as we've just entered, in the shopping and retail category. Little bit of a bio. Turned Earth is a handmade ceramic studio based in Kerry, Ireland. And then we put some hashtags. So if you think about tourists coming to the country, or people internationally, and what they're going to be searching for, how they're going to find you, people are actively out there searching hashtag Irish craft or hashtag Irish pottery or whatever it is, hashtag Irish design. And this, by putting these hashtags in your bio, this is a way for you to get in there and get them engaged. Now, we'll also be putting these hashtags on the posts, but this will bring up profiles for them when they're looking for profiles. And then we have our website here. So when you hear people posting and they say link in bio, that's what they mean, that they'll post a picture of something and say, you know, new stock just landed, link in bio, meaning that you can click on this and link.
And Mary, just a question there. If your present Instagram is personal rather than business, are the hashtags in the bio relevant?
Yeah, they will be relevant, but if it's private, then they won't. So this is once your Instagram is published. Like, if you're, depending on what kind of business you have, if you have a personal Instagram that you're using to chat with your friends and sort of, you know, post more personal life stuff, I would recommend that you set up a business Instagram as well. Like, I have a personal Instagram that represents me as a creative director and is kind of personal as well, but it's definitely a bit more businessy. And then for all of my branding work and content, I have another Instagram, The Nice Things, that I've actually had on hold for a bit of a couple of weeks now, just to take a break. But I just think it's important to try and keep your personal stuff separate from your business. Now, that's not to say that you can't be your brand. You know, a lot of people are very much their brands, and their brands really represent what they're about. However, it's just a slightly more polished, professional way of delivering the brand. And there can be personal stories. I'm all about brands using personal stories and the stories of the people behind the brands. That's all really interesting. But generally, if you're sort of mixing the two, my recommend would be to separate it out.
And then there's another question here about, do you recommend setting up a business Instagram account before you have a website or e-commerce set up?
Yes, 100%. So just to give you an idea, so my website, my website for my brand, The Nice Things, started out as an Instagram account. And I just started posting nice things that inspired me. It was kind of my digital mood board. And it was just kind of something fun. You know, it was my way of sharing stuff that I'm interested in with the world. And I didn't really know at that point where I was going with it. I just was like, well, this is a great name. And I managed to buy thenicethings.com, and that's pretty cool. And that's what I want my life to be about. And I started posting, and I let everybody know that I'd set up this new account and that I was posting, and people started engaging in it, and it just started growing. And then it evolved into my brand work sort of sat quite nicely under it. And then I built the website, but like, it wasn't for about maybe a year and a half later. And it just happened quite differently to probably how, you know, your standard business strategist would tell you to build a business. But it happened quite organically, because it was movements in the right direction. But, you know, there's people, you probably follow accounts, like people follow accounts that are literally just people reposting cool pictures. Like, people just like looking at cool stuff. So absolutely, if you haven't got the brand yet, or, you know, something's on its way, you can also change the name of the Instagram. Like, it sort of gives you a little bit of an opportunity to test the market and to sort of see what you like and what direction your creative is going. So 100%, I would absolutely say, like, fire ahead and just get your Instagram going. And the other thing as well is, if you know that you're starting a brand and it might not be for another year or another year and a half, you could have a load of followers that are invested in what you do, ready to go before you even launch your website, you know? So it's probably one of the few platforms where you can really start building a good following for what you're doing without actually having anything tangible per se as a brand.
Okay. And what do you think of smart links in the bio? Smart links.
Smart links. So yeah, so this is like link in bio. I'm assuming you're talking about. So this is link in bio. I mean, I think it's a great idea. It depends on what you're doing. So smart links could be like, so just to explain to anybody who doesn't understand, like, using link in bio allows you to, it's kind of like it's like the midway, it's the middleman between your Instagram and your different sort of URLs. So say, for example, in the case of the current brand, where we have we have a pottery brand selling e-commerce. Then we're doing a pottery workshop, and we've done a new brand film. You might want to use link in bio to enter in 3 separate URLs to link out to all of those different things. So it depends on what the end use is, you know. The one thing that I would say is that, yeah, focus is really important, and you need to figure out like that you're not scattering your consumers in too many different directions. So if your aim is to make sales, you really want to be focusing in on like that funnel. So to get your conversions, to get them to actually make a purchase. The problem I think for brands with like the link in bio is that they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go to the website, and then suddenly they're looking at the workshop, and then they've decided not to buy the product, and then you've sort of lost the sale. So just have a think about what you really want to focus on at that moment in time. It might be that you have identified a little bit of a slow period, so you take, you know, you put the brakes on really pushing product, and you do something else. So you do that workshop, or you do that experience, or you sell something else, or you talk about something else. So just be careful about that sort of you're being strategic in terms of the decisions, and you're not trying to do like all of those things all of the time at the same time, because then your efforts are going to be quite scattered, and you want things to be really focused. Anything else? We're good on questions.
Yeah, somebody's asking, is that link in bio? Is that what you were talking about? Yeah.
No, well, no. So, yeah, the link in bio is, you know, you'll see a lot of posts where people say link in bio. So that just literally is referring to this. And then, well, that traditionally is referring to this. And then link in bio is a new thing that's kind of getting a little bit more advanced. So it's, like I said, it's the midway between Instagram and all of the various different URLs, which I hadn't planned on going into too much on this particular tutorial, because I'm sort of trying to get the fundamentals and the basics going.
Okay. And then just another quick question. Is there an option to set up a non-profit group page?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Let's have a look. So that would be here. And I think we'd be looking at the category. So there you go.
There you go. Okay, great.
Okay. So yeah, all of that is possible. And you know, this is where, like, if you're doing that, you should have hashtag nonprofit, or find out what the nonprofit hashtags are, so that you're channeling all your efforts into that message.
And then somebody has 2 Instagram profiles. I can edit the profile on one, but not on the other, which is more branded. Do you know why this is?
They have 2 Instagrams, and they can.
2 Instagram profiles.
I've not encountered that issue, because I've run a couple of Instagram profiles. So you can't, that person can't do this, press on that button there.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's quite a technical issue. So I'd sort of need to get a bit closer to the problem and get into the account to see what the problem is. And alas, I cannot do that in a webinar.
Okay. Oh, she's saying there is no edit profile. It doesn't say edit profile.
Are you logging out and logging in again? So if you're just visiting your page from, you have to log out and log back in to be able to do both, because otherwise you'll just, so say for example, I can go to the nice things here. Hold on a sec. Okay, so I can go to the nice things, and it won't allow me to edit here because I'm visiting it as Turned Earth. So what I would say is log out. If you click on, I'll just show you now. See this little hamburger menu up here? If you click on the menu and go to settings, you have the option in account, oh, there we go. Yeah, log out turned out. So what I would do is log out and log in as your brand, and I think that should sort the issue. We're all good for questions?
Yeah, there's just another couple. One is, any tips for finding your true followers?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a moment. So
Okay.
that's on its way.
Well, just another quick one then. I've used #S and taken all the advice on board, love Instagram, but sometimes I get really inappropriate friend requests and I can only link them to Instagram #S. I'm an artist. I'd prefer #S to be targeted to buyers.
So why are you using #S?
Kate might answer that. Okay, she might answer now in a minute.
Okay.
Oh. I don't know, we may talk to Kate after. She said no, just hashtag. So I don't know.
Okay, I think, I mean, yeah, it sounds like a hashtag issue, and that maybe you haven't got your hashtags particularly suited to the market that you're working in. So this is where figuring out the hashtags, you know, doing a hashtag strategy is really important, and figuring out what hashtags are going to get you in front of your market. So look, that's quite a particular one, so I think we can come back to that at the end of the clinic. Okay, so now we're going to start looking at sharing what we're doing. And my touch screen is not working because it is so warm where I am today. It's really muggy. All right, just bear with me. There we go. Okay, so here's some I made earlier. So where to use this? So what you can do is, when you're doing a post, you have, this is a Boomerang, which is like a sort of fun video app, which I don't really think, I wouldn't advise any brand to use it because it's a bit gimmicky and it's a bit TikTok-y, and for the kind of brands that are on here today, it's not quite suitable. The next one is layout. So this one here is layout, which I would need to download separately. Again, I'm not a fan of layout because I think, you know, Instagram, the feed is quite small, so you want your images to be really bold and really clear. What layout does is it kind of creates a mosaic of lots of different images, and it just doesn't look so crisp and it doesn't look so professional. So I don't think you need to worry about that. Select multiples, however, is something that you might want to use, because really the way the algorithm works with Instagram is it champions accounts, so it makes accounts who are posting really good content that people are interested in more visible. And one of the ways that you can make your content more interesting and get more engagement is by selecting multiple. So you might have a product that you have from a few different angles, or you might have a product that's part of a collection. So in this instance, you'd select multiple. And then what you can do is, so we have our lead image selected there, and we have, let's do 2 of a little group of bolds, and then 3, something that they might want to buy along with the first 2 images. So now you have 3 images selected. We'll click on next. Okay, so in next, we can now scroll through and see the sequence in which our images are going to run. So this is going to be the lead image. This is the second, and this is the third. And then if we want to add more, we can always use the plus. Now, you have an opportunity here to put a filter on. So and you put that filter, or you have all of these different filters. And I would say never put a filter, never use an Instagram. They're kind of my rules. Never use an Instagram filter on any of your pictures. If you need to clean up your pictures beforehand in a separate app, take the yellows out, take the contrast out, do that separately. Don't rely on Instagram filters to make your images look better. It just looks a bit tacky and a bit cheap, and which you as makers want to steer clear of. So we're leaving our lovely images there as they are. And then we are clicking on next. Okay, and now we're at the point where we write our caption. So on the last tutorial, I touched on various different ways that you can write your copy, but this is our first Instagram post. So perhaps we say something like, launching today our brand new line of hand-thrown pottery, created in the Southern Ireland's Kerry, where the water is pure, or something lovely. You want to have a little bit of personality in your copy, you know, give your images can be serious and beautiful, but I think it's nice to have a little bit of warmth, and especially when it's the craft area, you know, people want to know that there is a person behind the brand. And when somebody asked the question about how do you find your ideal followers? So in this copy, so your ideal follower is somebody who likes things that are made by hand, really likes Irish product, or, you know, perhaps they live abroad, perhaps they live in Ireland and they're actively searching to buy more Irish product. They love the idea that Ireland is this pure, magical place, which it is, of course, with greenery and lovely clear water, you know, so you're tapping into all of those things. And this is when we talk about value systems, these are the things that it's about finding out what your customers value. So say, for example, if it's a artisan cheese brand. So an artisan cheese brand, it's, you know, artisan cheeses, cheese and wine, that lovely outdoor summer lifestyle, you know, and, you know, people who are invested in food and knowing where the produce came from and the cows that it came from. And, you know, this is how you're sort of building the stories, and you're creating these stories so that the people, the consumers that are interested in those stories and really enjoy those stories, so that they start to know about them. And this is where they become aligned with your brand and want to support your brand, because it nourishes, those stories are the things that nourish them, that appeal to them. So in terms of hashtags as well, we are going to put hashtags on this, but my recommend for any brand is to put your hashtags in a separate comment, because basically it means, like, you will see brands where they put their comments, they do this, so that the comments are a bit further down and they don't clutter up the feed. I think that looks a little bit messy. So I'm gonna click OK, and I'll just show you how to do that in a moment. Now, when you are creating a post, you do have the option to tag people. So click on here. So maybe I want to tag, I don't know, maybe I want to tag the person that made it, or perhaps this order is going to a specific shop. So it's going to Kilkenny Design. So, and you're going to say something in the copy about it. So you tag Kilkenny Design. So you can tag people that are relative to that specific post. Okay, so we've tagged myself. add a location. If you're not adding the location, you're absolutely missing out. So you can see I'm right beside Crow Park here. So Kerry, Ireland. Because the reason why you tag a location is when all of those lovely tourists start coming back to Ireland, they're going to be in Kerry and they might go, oh, well, like, I wonder, let's search the location and see what's happening. That's a way for you to get under their nose because they're actually there. So Facebook, as we go down here, you also have the option to link up your other accounts. So in this case, we've linked up the nice things. So you can, if you click this to on, what it will do is it will share this post to your Facebook feed as well. Now, I wouldn't recommend oversharing your Instagram to your Facebook feed because it can just feel a little bit like automated behavior. And the whole thing with social is you want to, even though like there may be a little bit of automation going on in the background, you want to get away from automation or any kind of bot-like behavior. So I'm going to switch this off because this isn't a real brand and that is my real Facebook. And then we are going to go to share to our feed. So we will click on share. And we have our first post. Now, just to see how it behaves in the feed, you can click through the images like that. Also, if you post it and there's a typo in it, or you need to share it, or you need to delete it, you can always click on the top right-hand corner there, because I've encountered people where they post something and they're like, oh my God, I didn't mean to post it. How do I delete it? Now it's there and it's never going to go away. It's really easy to undo anything. So, just relax into it and have some fun. Now, what I was saying as well was about hashtags. So don't put the hashtag in the copy part. What we'll now do is we're going to put our hashtags that we've already saved. So we will have done our research. So we will have a combination of maybe 3 or 4 different bunches of hashtags. As I've said before, you can have up to 31 hashtags. So use them to their full advantage. So once you've done your research and you've figured out what the hashtags are, so here we have Irish pottery, Irish craft, ceramics, handmade, ceramica, ceramic art, all of the hashtags that people might be following to find our product. So we've done the research and we've put that into our notes. Now we're simply going to copy our notes and pop it in here in the comments section. Okay, there we go. And now just to show you how hashtags work, if we click on Irish pottery here, there is our post. So here you can see all the other people that have used the Irish pottery hashtag. And because we have just posted, we're top of that feed. Okay. And then if we click back to here, we can see we have our post there on our feed. Okay. Any questions on that?
There's just one question here. How did you add the images? Where did you go to add the images?
You're going down here to add the images. So that plus sign in the middle. So everything that you want to do, that's your navigation at the bottom. So I'll just run through it again. We click on that. And the images are images. So these are images that I've already saved onto my phone. You might be in your studio. You might be taking pictures. I'll show you now, I'll add another one. So this is stuff that I've sort of preloaded onto my phone. And let's say we're going to post this one. Then we click top right-hand corner, next. So this is just a solitary post. We're not going to put any filter. Next. And here we write every single thing. Piece is lovingly made by hand. And it has its own unique imperfections. Okay, and then we're just going back to the top right hand side. We click OK. We're not going to tag anyone. We'll type in Kerry once again. We're not going to share it to our Facebook. And that's our second post gone to our feed. So this is how our feed starts building. Let's just throw one more up for good measure. And we'll say turned earth, ready to fire. Because this is more of a studio one and it's a bit more about the story. We'll click OK. We're not going to tag anyone. Pop in Kerry again. And we'll share. So then when you click on the bottom right hand corner here on your profile picture, you can have a look at your page. You've now got 3 posts and you can see them all there together. So what we're going to have a look at next is finding some followers. So we're looking a bit drafty. We've got 3 posts, but we're looking a bit drafty on the followers. And I would always recommend, if you're starting your Instagram from scratch, I would always recommend post maybe 6 to 9 pictures before you start going and finding your followers. Because as soon as you follow somebody, they'll go and they'll visit your page. And you want to make sure that you have the page looking nice so that they'll become a follower and they won't just sort of click away from you. So the easiest way...
Sorry, just a quick question. Can you include... where's the question on? Oh yeah, no, can you add the location and tagging after you've already put the image up? Can you go back into it and then add?
Let's have a look. I think you can. Yeah, you can. So we've just gone into edit there. So sorry, just to show you quickly how I did that. We're going to click on these 3 dots up here. Click. We're going to click on edit. Click. And then we're in here where we can edit. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Kerry. Remove location or change location. So that would be where if you haven't already got a location, you can add your location there. And we're going to click on done, done, and we're all sorted. You know, and if you are in a location as well, like you might want to think about one of your hashtags might be Kerry or discover Kerry or whatever it is, you know, like have a think about tourism trade as well, which will eventually come back. But have a think about that, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be just specific to your actual product. Like I said, think about lifestyle, think about what people, you know, people coming to Ireland might want to purchase products and see beautiful Irish products. And so you can go a little bit broader on it in terms of that. So we have 1 follower already, which is excellent. And we have not following. So to get started, it's always nice to follow a handful of people. So people that we're already linked with. Now, I would also recommend always try and keep the number of people, like I've seen accounts and they will go crazy following thousands and thousands of people. which is kind of spammy, and then they end up with maybe like 25% of those people following them back. Like I said already, it's not about the number of followers, it's about the quality of followers. So don't just start following accounts so that they follow you back. Follow people that you know might be interested in what you do. So you have the Garda Síochána there. I don't know if they're going to be interested in our pottery, but you know, these are some other brands that perhaps Dublin Town, Chubby, you know, they're follow brands and follow similar businesses. And the other thing that you can do as well is if there's another business that's in a similar field, you can go in and follow some of their followers. You know, you can, but you know, just be mindful of, don't go on a following rampage. Like, it's important to get your followers, but it also has to grow from a place of integrity. So in terms of as well, like when you set up your business Instagram, like Instagram is going to connect you with your Facebook, and then based on your Facebook followers, like it's going to suggest people in your circle anyway that are already kind of relevant to what you do. So for example, this is like throwing up lots of people that I'm already following, or people in Ireland that I'm interested in, and so on and so forth. So, you know, we can go on here as well and say like we're a pottery brand. So we can search the Kilkenny shop, can follow them. You know, maybe you want to follow Avoca, maybe you want to follow the duty free in the airport. And then the other thing as well is that like once you follow somebody, if you click on this little button here, so that button, it's already open, but that button will show you all of these other businesses that are in a similar field. Okay, so many of these though are going to be brands that are bigger than you. So what we can do, okay, I'm just going to talk you through this. So if we go back up to our little hamburger menu here again, we can go to discover people, and that will throw up lots of people for us to follow. Now, the other thing that I would say is once you set up your Instagram account, share it with all your friends, like follow all your friends and get them to share it with 5 people. Ask people to share stuff for you. You know, you all have really big networks. Are there other brands that you're working with that you can share their stuff and they'll share you back? You know, and that's what it is. It's social media because it's social. So you're not there on your own. You can be really creative in terms of how you start building your followers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about hashtags, and I'm going to come back to building your followers at the end. We're already an hour in actually, like there's literally, I could talk all day about Instagram, so, but I'm going to try and keep it focused. So with the hashtags, what I was saying was, so for this one, up here is the area where you can search hashtags and where you can start researching hashtags. So if you enter in there and we go hashtag, hashtag Irish pottery, that will bring up all of the different hashtags. But if you click on this here, okay, actually, sorry, I'm going to go back. First of all, you can click on accounts. So see where I was saying having a hashtag in your bio will bring you up under accounts. This is the only person on Instagram that has hashtag Irish pottery in their bio. So use that wisely because this is where people can search your account with a hashtag. But for the purpose of this, we're going to click on tags and we're going to click into the top one here, hashtag Irish pottery. Now, the amazing thing in terms of researching your hashtag strategy is that once you find one hashtag that works, we can follow this. So now we're going to be following the hashtag Irish Pottery feed. But what happens is Instagram will suggest related hashtags. So we have Irish ceramics, hashtag potteries wheels, and then you can see the amount of people that are following those hashtags. So 77,000 posts. This is 7,000 posts. This is 89,000 posts. So they're all fairly reasonable. Like you generally, this is where I was saying before, you don't want to put hashtag love in, because let's see how many posts hashtag love has. Yeah, 1.8 billion posts on hashtag love. So you need to be really specific with your hashtags and don't just use sort of generic things, just because you've zero chance of getting discovered if the hashtag has too many posts already, if that makes sense. So that's hashtags. And then places, this is where I was saying about geotagging. So that shows you Kerry. So this now shows you everybody that's tagged, that's geotagged Kerry. So you have an opportunity to come up on that feed as well. It's like a lot of people on holidays having a really nice time. So just be creative with that. So I'm going to close off on hashtags now and briefly talk about stories. So to post our stories, we're clicking back on home. Oh, sorry, just one more thing. So once we follow, so let's say we just follow all these. Then when we go back to home, our home feed, oh, well, none of these have posted since we followed, but when we go back to home, our home feed should actually show all of the people that we follow as well, and then we can start engaging with them, and that's when people start discovering us. And these up here on the stories, remember when I said we started, there wasn't any other circles. So now we can click on other people's stories because we've started following them. And to click through the stories, we just touch with our thumb. So touch, touch. And if we want to hold on something, we just keep our thumb down for a moment. It'll just pause it. But for this, we're going to click through. So that's a really nice example of a beautiful story. So what is going on in Brown Commons today. So that just gives you an idea on stories. If you want to get involved in stories, so like I was saying the last time, don't do stories unless you're going to make a story. So don't do stories if you're just going to post two posts, two pictures. Make a story. So have something to say. Have a little journey that you're going to take somebody on. So I would say a minimum of 5 posts for a story, but you can do double or triple that. Just be careful, be mindful of not putting too many posts in a story, because people, when they click onto your stories, you know, they can get a bit overwhelmed if there's lots of stuff that they're going to need to click through. So to post a story, this little camera up here on the left hand side, we're going to click on that. And I've prepared some earlier. So let's do this. So with stories, like, I always feel you can make it more personal. So we might need to say lovely day in the studio today. So you can type that. Then you can also change the type that you use. So by clicking through these guys. So have a think about your brand and have a think about what kind of font is going to look nicest for your brand. I personally love this one. You can also change the color of the text by pressing on that little wheel up there. So we're going to make this black. And if you want to change the justification, so everything you need to change the text, left, right, center, love a bit of a left alignment. And then this one in the middle is if you want to highlight your text. And that looks kind of cool. So we're done with that. Lovely day in the studio today. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on send. Oh, before I do that, I should just talk you through what these guys are up here as well. So A was how we write our text. This little guy is your marker pen. So, which that was very messy. So we're not going to use that one. This is your Gif animation. So we're not going to use that on this one, but I can show you in a moment. We might use it on something else. So and this is for filters. So this is like when you see people using Snapchat filters and that kind of thing. Wouldn't recommend using as a brand. And then we're just going to send. And we're going to send to our story. Now, this is a bit more advanced, but we do have an option where if we want to create stuff that only a certain group of people can see, we can create a list from our followers. So it's an exclusive list, but this is going to everyone. So we're done. Okay. And then if you want to, you keep building your story. So we just do the same thing again. And let's pop this one on. This is detail shot. Detail shot. And that is not straight. There we go. And we might want to put hashtag art pottery, hashtag handmade. Now, I wouldn't advise you to use too many hashtags on your Instagram. And the other thing that I would recommend, if you can change the size of your text by pinching in and out with both thumbs. So on hashtags on stories, just to stop it from being messy, I generally sort of just tend to minimize them and kind of hide them in the image. So we'll share that one. And then I'm just gonna, you also have the option of sharing to Facebook, but that's in another day's chat. And then we'll just show you we'll do the same again. So every time we're going up here, that top left-hand corner, and we're going to swipe up, and I have a little video that I made earlier, because this is what you really want to be using your stories for, is that video content, because this is where the video content lives. So I'm going to say our little pinch pots in action with some Atlantic rock salt. And maybe we want to say from Fallon and Burn. So maybe we want to tag another business. There we go, from Fallon and Burn. And we're going to change the type on this just to something a little bit more legible. A little pinch pots in action with some Atlantic rock salt. So the reason why you would tag somebody else is that there's a strong chance that if you tag somebody else and you tag their product, then they will repost your story, and that helps you grow your followers. So there we go, shared to our story. And now if we want to go back in and just have a look at our story, we can click up here. Okay, and it will walk us through our story. Lovely day in the studio today. Detail shot, our little pinch pots. And then it closes out. We can also access our stories from our profile. So clicking at the bottom right-hand side, and then we click on this, and it shows what we posted to our story. We also might want to do something in our story. So we want our Facebook feed and our Facebook story, we want them to talk to each other. So if you're posting a story, I would always say something in your feed. I would always say post a picture in your feed at the same time and say there's a new story just up. I would also say if you're posting in your story, you can direct people to your feed. So you might want to post something like this and say, see the finished product in our most recent post on our feed. So you want to make it fun, okay? Now, there is the functionality where you can swipe to your website on these kind of posts, but that's only if you have more than 10,000 followers. So for something like this, you might just want to do that and put like a little arrow, which is kind of cute and handmade looking. And it just alerts people to the fact, so it sends people to your feed and not just to your stories. So, yes, so that is sort of wrapping us up really on everything that the foundations of Instagram. Like there's so much that you can discuss. Does anybody have any questions about what I've just gone through?
That's fantastic, Marion. Thanks for that. There's a load of comments coming in saying excellent webinar and this is amazing. Thank you. But there's a couple of questions here. Just can you create stories with different topics? Sometimes you see multiple circles that are different categories.
Yes, so that's your highlights. So your highlights, again, that's a little bit more advanced. Yeah, because I have that done on mine, but I can't remember how to do it right at this minute. Here we go. So keep your favorite stories on your profile. So 100% you can do that. So what you would need to do there is click on new, and then it will show you the stories that we have just posted. So let's add all of these. And maybe we just want to call it July, or, you know, whatever it is. Maybe it's whatever is relevant. Maybe it's, you know, mugs or in the studio, or this is where you're creating different stories. Also, like with your highlights, you can edit the cover. So make sure your cover is on brand as well. So for this one, yeah, like none of these look particularly amazing. So I'm just gonna put that there. We just have like a little detail shot, so it sort of fits in. Then we click add, and there's your first highlight. So then when it comes to August, maybe you want to add another one, and then you can select from everything that you've posted to your stories for the month of August, and you'll have all of your little highlights along here. So these are all ways that people, when they land on your page, you know, we now have a page that's starting to look quite nice and it's nicely branded, good color palette. If you're into pottery and you land on this page, you're probably going to follow it because it's just telling a really nice branded story, and it's well thought out, and it's considered.
So do you need to add those stories to your highlights within 24 hours?
No, you can do that anytime. So you can, like I recently added a highlight from a trip that I had to Sri Lanka 2 years ago. And so that you can do that from the archive, which I have to come back to.
Okay. And should you use hashtags and location in your stories?
Yeah, but just don't use loads of them. Like use them, but just don't use lots of them, because it's kind of like there are no rules, but there's just kind of like unwritten etiquette of what visually looks cool. And you know, the 31 hashtags, definitely like put them in your comments on your feed, but limit your use of hashtags on your stories. Just make it a bit more focused.
Just with hashtags as well, Marion, there's a question, you include the hashtags in the original post and also to the comments when you're putting up a post. So can you explain the difference?
So I wouldn't include them in the original post. So if we look at this one, I've only, oh no, hang on, which one was it? We look at this one, which I did properly, I've only included them in the comments. So you have the post, the copy in the post, and then you have the comments is separate. And it just means that, like, if you want to go back in at a later date and you want to delete those comments, you can just completely delete them. It also means that for the sake of the feed, you don't have your lovely copy and then a load of hashtags afterwards, which just looks really messy.
Okay. And then there's a question, how do you set up the sponsored Instagrams that appear in a feed?
So the sponsored, you're looking into social media advertising, and that's not something that I'm going into today because it's a bit more advanced.
Okay. Can you use friends list as businesses you want to get your story, or is that tacky?
Can you use?
Your friends list as business that you want to get your story to, or is that tacky?
I don't quite understand the question.
I think it's just if you look up your friends lists, your friends type of thing.
Your friends' followers?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to be relevant consumers, then absolutely. But the way that I would go about it more is, like, if they're good friends, then I would say to them, hey, I've just set up my Instagram account, or like a new product range coming through, and send the image. So say, for example, with this, you can send it on, and well, I haven't got enough followers. Did I follow myself? Can I send it? Right, so I'm going to send this to my friend Marion. There she is. And I'm going to say, hey, my new range just launched. Would you be a doll and share on your feed or stories? Like, just ask your friends to help you out. You know, like, we're all in this together to co-promote each other.
Okay.
And people really like to be helpful. So, you know, that's that scent. And people more often than not really want to help.
And you know, the way you said a few minutes ago that you could delete the hashtags later from a comment section. Is there any reason why you would do that, or why would there be a reason to delete them?
Some people are just a bit, there's no real reason. Some people are just a bit fussy about, you know, what the comment section looks like. It's an option, but yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's all the questions. If anything it hasn't been covered, we can always contact you later if you want to send me an email. There's a few people asking when the webinar will be available online. So it just takes Zoom a little while to process it, and then they send it to me, and then we upload onto the YouTube link. So I can send you out the link, or you'll find it on the DCCI webpage under the webinars. All the previous webinars recordings are all up there. So loads of people saying thanks very much, Marion. It was really informative and excellent webinar, and thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, no problem. And we'll see you again in August.
Yeah, see you in August.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.